Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to In the Streets with Big Stone. Today is a very special and important day to the people of Jamaica. We want you to pay attention to this very important interview that I'm about to have right here at the shrine of the Right Excellence Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Now, ladies and gentlemen, seated to my left is none other than Heru Ishaka Musa Menelik, President of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party. Welcome to In the Street, Heru.
Blessed love, my brother. Glad to be amongst your company again.
It is indeed an honor, ladies and gentlemen. Since he became president, he has become so elusive, and I can just understand that he's taking care of the plight of the Jamaican people. Now, Heru, Jamaica is under siege. And when I say under siege, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey said our back will be against the wall. And I think our backs are way into the wall. How can you rescue the Jamaican people?
Well, first of all, I must begin with the motto of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party. One God, one aim, one destiny. So it's a very comprehensive and wholesome statement that we are saying one God, one aim, one destiny for the people of Jamaica. And Jamaica, you know, is 95% of African descent people. Now, one of the main functions that Mr. Garvey used to uplift his association was self-reliance. In 1922, he created in America Black Wall Street, where all of the major businesses were owned by black people. And this was done through self-reliance, believing in self. Mr. Garvey had a cry which he would say, "Up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will." These are the things that he used to motivate the people and let the people feel as if they are worthy. Now Jamaica is in the doldrums. And as such, we need to motivate our people. One of the things that the people really need is business. Too long we have depended on foreign business owners coming in, and as the government would call it, foreign direct investment. It has not worked. Professor Norman Garvey has showed that these foreign direct investments, even though the capital looks good initially, it peters out. It never works because the money that is made by these companies are repatriated to America or to wherever the money came from initially. So you get that initial thrust of investment, you get some work for a couple of days, but after that the profits are repatriated. So you end up worse off than you begin.
Wow. Let's talk about what the Honorable Marcus Garvey really stands for, coming through the lineage of Paul Bogle, who fought for land reform. Squatters, land reform. How would you address that?
Well, today, and these are statistics available from the Ministry of Housing and the PIOJ, the Planning Institute. Today we have over 800,000 squatters in Jamaica.
Wow.
There are over 750 squatter communities.
Wow.
Now, how can a nation progress? You are looking at approximately 39% of your population.
Wow.
This does not augur well. In 1929, the Honorable Marcus Garvey said in his manifesto, land reform is essential. Land reform is essential in the means that with land, you have collateral, you can feed yourself, clothe yourself, and house yourself. Without land, you are powerless. And these are the things that we can't understand why successive governments being formed by both the PNP and JLP have not addressed this issue. The people must get access to land. Now we look recently at Red Hills Road where a number of people had been living for some up to 60 years and elderly was there. Yes. Now I find it strange that they have lived there for 60 years undisturbed, and yet still in 2016 someone will come and claim this land and want to remove the people as squatters. The statute has told you, through adverse possession, if you live on a land, privately owned land, for 12 years undisturbed, you can acquire that land by adverse possession. This is something enshrined in our constitution and in our laws. It is not being adhered to. If you're on government lands now, and you are there for a period of over 60 years, intergeneration occupation, you can acquire that land from the state. These are things that are there, but yet still we find people are always thrown on the sidewalk and land is reclaimed for whether it's a private owner or the government. It is wrong.
You know what really puzzles me, and I hope, Heru, you can really highlight the Jamaican people as to the purpose, the intent of the National Housing Trust. To my estimation, I think it was built, from a layman perspective now, it was orchestrated so that whatever monies are collected through your throwing of your, from your salary, be eligible for cheap housing. Explain the National Housing Trust and how both governments, from time to time, they tend to go into this institution, as one government call it, and take money out to do something totally different from acquiring houses for our poor people. Explain that.
It is illegal what both parties have done when they have assumed government. When you take money from the housing trust, not for housing solutions, you are going against the Housing Trust Act. It came into being for the main purpose, and as the name signifies, housing trust. It is there primarily to provide housing and cheap housing for the proletariat. The proletariat is the ones who suffer always because they have a system that they should qualify within certain points. And even though you are throwing through your salary deduction over a period of time, you never qualify. And this is why the excess of money is found in the housing trust, because they are not providing the people with adequate housing because of the system that they have created. And it is a corrupt system. We are advocating that as long as you are growing after 5 years and housing unit must be allocated. We have people now that we have built houses for 1/3 the cost of what the housing trust. So if a housing trust is giving you a house for $8 million as their cheap house, we can get it to you. The Marcus Garvey People's Political Party can get it to you for $3 million. And if you are earning minimum wage of $6,500 a week, you can qualify to get a housing solution with your minimum wage.
These are great news. This is great news for the people of Jamaica. Can you imagine working on minimum wage in this country? Because I, as a young man growing up, my grandparents had many acres of land, and yet still my father could afford a property. We used to move from pillar to post. We're over there for 6 months, then the rent gets a little higher, and we have to move all over the place. So it was very frustrating. So with this kind of information that the president of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party is bringing to the ears of Jamaicans, I only hope that you listen, because these are very, very valid and important information in you making your decision when you go to the polls. Heru, crime in this country. I didn't want to bring it so close to the front of our conversation, but it is overwhelmed. Last year we had 1,350 people murdered in this country, and we're not fighting the civil war. In Montego Bay alone, which is supposed to be our second city and tourist capital, almost 300 people were murdered. What is happening? do we still need divine intervention, or we need proper policing, proper politicians in terms of how they inculcate, bring great ideas to the fore to help save our Jamaican people? What can you do for our people?
I'll start with an analogy. A lot of gun crimes is taking place. But the thing, if you put a gun down on a table, that gun will stay there for infinity. It is the mind that controls the person, that controls the hand that takes up that gun.
Wow. Yes,
so
yes.
It is not to get more police to police. We need to get into it. Now, what we find, and all the psychologists throughout the world can tell you, whenever you have squatter type settlements, where in one home you will find 40, 50 people living,
wow,
just the closeness of the people living together will cause irritability. Dr. Lakim Samaj, one of our psychologists, have always said it. Dr. Herbert Gale, Dr. Freddie Hicklin, Professor now. We know it, we know the answers. But it is the corruption of our policymakers, the greed of our policymakers, the malfeasance of our policymakers, why this continues. Crime in one generation can be a thing of the past. Why do I say so? If you look in St. Andrew, the upper echelons of the society, a house with the same square footage will have 4 or 5 occupants.
Wow.
In the inner city areas, you will have 30, 40 or 50 persons living in the same square footage. It is wrong. Now, from whence did this came? We have to go way back to the days of slavery. That when we had emancipation, emancipation freed our ancestors. When that happened, they should have been given some money. They were promised some money, no compensation. The owners of the slaves, or the enslaved people, got 20 million pounds to share up.
Wow.
What did they do with this 20 million pounds? I'll give you one example. The former Prime Minister for England, he visited Jamaica. His great-grandparents came from Jamaica. They had a plantation in Westmoreland. And out of their share of the 20 million pounds, they invested in a bank. That bank, known as Barclays Bank, which is now in Jamaica, NCB, was started by the Clark family.
Wow. Wow.
Now, you see what happened. They used that money that they got for compensation to start a financial. And at 1838, when they were manumitted, they got nothing.
Wow.
So they had to know, without land to grow crops to feed themselves, they had to go back and work for the past slave owners, which the slave owners now paid them a salary that they would always be indebted to the former slave owners. It is a vicious system that persists to today. It's the same thing happening. One of our most learned judges, Judge Patrick Robinson, who was a former member of the International Court of Justice, came out at one of the Paul Bogle celebrations and said, we must give the people land. That's the only way the country will move forward. Access to land gives you the ability to approach a bank
and acquire.
Wow. Without that, you remain a serf, a slave, a peon.
A peon, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are at the shrine of the right excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, speaking with the president of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to have him here because we're getting deeper into the meat of the matter as to how our country should run from the ideology of the great Marcus Menelik. It was said that the manifesto that the Honorable Marcus Garvey created was used by a political party. Is there any truth to it? To form their manifesto? Was anything taken from what Marcus Garvey started in his official original manifesto as the first political party?
Yes, both political parties took certain aspects of Marcus Garvey's manifesto. And I'll start with the PNP and land. Norman Washington Manley, in their early 1978 manifesto, spoke to land reform and spoke to the ability of giving the people land.
Wow.
Even though they did not adhere to it, it was more propaganda than really a sincerity in them getting land to the people. Because we have to understand, Norman Manley was one of the elites. He came from the Golden Triangle. He was privileged.
Heru, you have to explain for our listeners out there, what is the Golden Triangle?
The Golden Triangle is where most of our affluent citizens would reside. They would not want anyone from the inner city or the ghetto to reside in that area. So real estate in that area was at such a price that only the privileged few could live there. That ensured them that they would not see anyone, any maidservant or any gardener putting up a house beside them. And that's the crux of the matter. They wanted to be amongst themselves. Exclusively.
Wow. Heru, I'm so informed at all times having a conversation with you. Can we exclude ourselves totally from the IMF and become a productive, progressive country?
A very good question. Now Marcus Garvey had a saying, up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Will mean the action word. You're going to will yourself to do this. Now when you look at the amount of idle lands, 80% of the agricultural land in Jamaica today is still idle.
Most 80%?
80%.
Wow.
80%.
Wow, it's a lot.
So what you're saying, you're compromising your ability to feed your people, which is one of the foremost objectives of any government, to be able to feed your people. Now what you end up in is a vicious cycle, that if you're not producing the food to feed your people, you have to buy it from somewhere.
Yes.
Now to buy it from somewhere and you don't have the requisite hard currency, as they say, then you have to borrow it. And this is how we get into that vicious cycle with the IMF, that we have to borrow. Now when you borrow, there are conditionalities attached to every amount of money that you borrow. So the IMF will dictate that you do A, or you do B, or you do C, or you can't get this money. So in order to take the money, our successive governments have taken on all the conditionalities. Don't care how much hardship it causes on the people. And as you look presently at the exorbitant increase in land tax,
exactly, I was just
over 1,000%, and this is one of the conditionalities of the IMF, that you increase this tax.
How could that possibly be when just a year or 2 years ago you're paying a minimum of say 10,000 and now you have to pay 200,000, and they're saying that the same piece of land 2 years ago has been revalued and it's now at this enormous big price, so you can now sell if you really want? Are they implying that we should start selling off our lands or what?
Well, and I would not put it in that context. What it means is that those who have worked hard and acquired some land will lose it.
Wow. The
land will go back to the crown, because the law is there. If you cannot pay these taxes, the crown, the government, is backed by our laws to take the land. So it's a form of creating more poor people.
Wow.
A vicious cycle. And it is unconscionable that this government at this time could bring it into being. And let's look at the mathematics of it all. You're earning a salary of $10,000 and you are paying your tax at a certain rate and living off that. And by the following year, you are asked to pay 1,000% increase without your salary being increased to match it.
How can you afford to pay?
It just cannot work. And this is what they have done to allow poor people to absorb this high increase. It's unconscionable. And when you look at what it is going to do, it is going to reverse the country into a minus quantity, a negative quantity, and you will always, to make up the difference, have to go to the island. We have to break that cycle. How do we break that cycle? We have to first get the people involved. Now, our people is always excluded. And what the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party is advocating is what we call the next stage of democracy, because past governments have been afraid of the word socialism, socialist regime, communist regime. They're afraid of it. So what we are saying, democracy is what America and England have brought into the people, and they have accepted it. Michael Manley started what they call democratic socialism, and the people are still afraid. Now what we are saying, we are going to bring into being peoplecracy. Peoplecracy. Why do we say peoplecracy? The power must be in the hands of the people. What we find under this democratic system and this political model is that the people give 63 individuals the power to govern. But the 63 people who is put in parliament to represent the people are not doing so. Because the people could not be in such a financial bind if they, the 63, were acting in the interest of the people. So let us say, we start with education. Jamaica is a state where 70% of our people are semi-literate. 70%. I am a justice of the people, and I have to sign documents for people. And you have high school students that have left school maybe a year ago. They are functional illiterates. They can't fill out a passport. They cannot. So they are basically semi-literate. How is that so? Because our education system has been broken. Has been broken. We have teachers that are teaching, and a student is spelling a word wrong and it is never corrected. Because I'm also an educator, I had a school, and parents would bring children to me for remedial educational work. And when I ask for the school books that the children have to see how they are performing in school, many times I see children spelling a word wrong and the teacher has not corrected it. That means the teacher, him or herself, is a semi-literate person. So we need a complete overhaul of our education system to bring our teachers up to the level that they can impart proper education to our children.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we speak to the president of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party, why is this biblical book, as it is classified by a lot of people all over the world, some people associate it with that of the Bible? What does it mean to you? Is there the black print of progress lies?
This is the black print of the black man's liberation. We have this book and we don't know the importance of this book. Now when Mr. Garvey, in his days, started his writing, everything that he did, he made jottings of it. And his wife, M.G.P.P.P. Garvey, actually did a compilation of his works to produce this book. Now when you look at the philosophy that he brought, a philosophy of self-reliance, in one of his one-liners he said, what man has done, man can do. We look up to the white man because of certain works that he has done. And we don't remember that the first white nation, the Greeks, that became civilized, was civilized by the Africans. There's a great book that you can go, Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. Get that book and you'll see that all the great Greeks that you read about went to Africa to study. When you look at medicine or mathematics, medicine, Hippocrates learned his medicine from an African. The great Imhotep, the first multi-genius that the world has known. So these are things that we must impart to our people. When you talk about self-esteem, a lot of our people don't have self-esteem because they believe in the history of slavery coming forward. They are never exposed to the great history of the African people before slavery. Before our greatness was interrupted by these barbarians from the north, we had a very thriving university, the University of Luxor, the University of Timbuktu, the University of Alexandria. So we have to understand, one of the things that have been used effectively against our people is propaganda. The white man has put forward that he created everything. He even put forward that the Son of God is a white man and gave you that image of Jesus Christus as a white man. But yet still in the Bible, Genesis chapter 2 verse 13 will tell you, God created man in his own image and likeness and placed him in the Garden of Eden. And the river that runs through the Garden of Eden runs through the land of Ethiopia. So there is a dichotomy being created by these barbarians, telling you that the Son of God is a white man, but yet still man was created in the name of God and placed in the Garden of Eden. And the Garden of Eden has a river running through it that runs through the land of Ethiopia. That's Africa, my brothers and sisters. So a lot of lies, half-truths have been taught to our people. And this is why education is so important. Well, this book, when you read the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, will equip you to obliterate every lie that has been told by the white man and lift you up to let you know that what they have done, you have done it already. And has the ability to do it again.
And do it better.
And do it better.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. But before we go, we want to get information from the president. How can one make a contribution, subscribe to the cause of the movement? Because as you know, ladies and gentlemen, both political parties are financed. They give them allotted X amount of money to run an election. And the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party have not been allocated any funding. So we're depending on you out there to wherever you are, scattered across the world. If you're a Jamaican or you have your Jamaican heritage, this is how you can contribute to the movement and be a part of the movement, so that come the next general election we can have Heru Ishaka Musa Menelik as the Prime Minister of this country. How can they get to you?
Well, we have offices 75 East Street in Kingston. Phone number 922-3915. We have a St. Andrew office at 34 Camp Road, and the telephone number 928-929-8288. 5510. Contributions can be made to the party through any of those two offices. And as we move along, we'll be having offices in every parish. We are actually on our membership drive right now. And we will be coming someplace close to you to set up an office. So even if you're in Montego Bay, you can still assist us because there'll be an office near to you.
What about financial institution like a bank? Is there any account set up that someone, say, living in England or Europe or the United States, if they want to go directly to a bank and put some money to assist the party in moving forward? Is there that? Do you have that kind of...
No, it's not in place as yet, but as we speak, we are about to put that in place because we understand that the diaspora have over 3 million Jamaicans out there, and we want to tap into their soul and let them understand that they can assist, just as though they send home $1 billion remittances to Jamaica on an annual basis. They can also assist the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party to put Jamaica on the right path, that they can be proud to say they are a Jamaican and can come to Jamaica at any time without being afraid that they would be mocked. We will make Jamaica that safe place that they would love to come and vacation.
And reiterating what the President of the United States said, that he can make America great again. We, from the outside, come on home. Don't be thrown out of any country. Send back what you have to little Jamaica so that we can keep Jamaica even greater, because we're already great. You saw that what we've done with our athletes, you saw what we've done with our music, and of course you saw the legacy of the Right Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. Anything imparting, Heru?
Definitely, and it would be remiss of me. I have to read something from this book.
Okay.
The Philosophy and Opinions. Page 123, the policy of the colored intellectual. Now this is what affected Marcus Garvey in his time, and he had to write it down. Who obstructed the progress of the UNIA in that time? And this is what Mr. Garvey said. The present day African or colored intellectual is no less a liar and a cunning thief than his illustrious teacher. His Occidental collegiate training only fits him to be a rogue and a vagabond, and a seeker after the easiest and best by following the line of least resistance. He is lazy, dull, and uncreative. His purpose is to deceive the less fortunate of his race, and by his wiles ride easily into position and wealth at their expense, and thereafter agitate for and seek social equality with the creative and industrious whites. To every rule, however, there is the exception, and in this case it must also be applied. So Mr. Garvey, see, a lot of the resistance that he got was from the same black people around him, the intellectuals who buy into the white dream and not see the black dream.
Wow, what a way to conclude this very powerful conversation. And I must say, sitting here right at the shrine of the right excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey, I have to remember a student of Mr. Garvey, which is Steve Bantubiko, and he said the greatest weapons in the hands of our oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. You understand what I just said? He said the greatest weapon that our oppressors have to kill us, to eradicate us, is our mind. And the Honorable Marcus Garvey said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but you can free your mind. Heru Ishaka Musa Menelik for presidency of Jamaica, because that is what is going on. All my support, and I hope all my following, my fan base, and people all over the world give you that support, because guess what? Jamaicans have worked long, hard, and tireless, and we should be proud of the country, and we cannot come home to a little piece of the rock, the pearl of the Caribbean. Thank you, Heru.
Blessings, my brother.
And I have to thank my cameraman, international recording artist, M.G.P.P.P, because he's done a tremendous job. I'm going to go to the shrine of Paul Bogo and interview this great legend from St. Thomas. So, pick up yourself. I'm
Blessed love.
Highly.
Highly.
Okay.